Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony, and thank you for joining me today in the listening room as part of our DMSO at Home series. Today I'll talk about one of the great symphonists of all times, second only to Beethoven. His name is Gustav Mahler. Now Mahler was born in Kalisz, Bohemia in 1860 into a German-speaking Jewish family. Mahler's father owned a tavern, and his family lived above it. Now just imagine the experiences the young boy had. Vagabonds playing music in the tavern, a town square less than a block away where many military bands rehearsed their marches, and a synagogue where Mahler sang in the choir. He also discovered the peace and tranquility that nature brought him at this age as he walked the surrounding fields and forests. And he later wrote that nature made him feel whole, relaxed, and taken over by the calmness he never felt when he was in the town. He would often sit for hours listening to the birds sing, the wind blowing, and the sound of water in a nearby stream. These experiences all influenced his music in the many years to come. Now, Mahler was a poor student, but when he was 15 years old, he auditioned for the prestigious Vienna Conservatory and attended classes there. Vienna was the musical capital of the world, and he was inspired by all that was around him. He studied counterpoint, harmony, and piano, and he also came across an anti-Semite attitude from many of his teachers. The feeling of being denigrated and embarrassed fueled a creative spirit in him. It was then that he realized he could express his feelings through music, and indeed he did, in ways he never dreamed of in the years that followed. There's a story about Mahler meeting the great Finnish composer Jan Sibelius in Helsinki in 1807. Mahler was on a concert tour there, and the meeting was arranged by a mutual friend. The two geniuses spoke about the symphony. Sibelius said, "I admire the symphony's profound logic, creating an interconnection among all the motives." Mahler, on the other hand, said, "The symphony is like the world. It must embrace everything." Sibelius, of course, treats the symphony not as a rhapsody or a free fantasia, but as a piece of music with rules. Mahler, on the other hand, is far more rhapsodic, bending the rules as he created sound. Two very different approaches to composition, but two equally great from my point of view. Now, during his lifetime, he was known primarily as a conductor of great personal power, full of passion and electricity. He had a love-hate relationship with conducting. When he was 21 years old, he took his first job as a conductor and found out how much he loved shaping the music to his own liking. But he disliked the friction and the laziness of some of the musicians and the constant compromise he had to make with them, something he carried with him his entire life. Now, Mahler wrote 9 symphonies and a 10th that was unfinished. These are magnificent works, all long and massive, and of course, controversial. And many of these monumental works might have been completely forgotten if it wasn't for conductors like Leonard Bernstein and Bruno Walter, two champions of Mahler's works. When I first heard a Mahler symphony, it was in 1958, and there were only 2 recordings of his Second Symphony. 1 of his Third Symphony, and 2 of his Ninth. Currently, there are well over 100 recordings of all of his symphonies, and how fortunate we are to have them. A reporter once asked Mahler why his symphonies were not performed much during his time, and he replied, "My time will come," and indeed it has. Today, his music is an important part of every serious conductor's repertoire. His music is the benchmark of orchestral performance. And if an orchestra can play Mahler well, they can play anything in the repertoire. His music fills concert halls all over the world and continues to gain popularity and appeal. Now, Mahler's music is a study of the dichotomies of the human spirit, confident and insecure, grandiose and tranquil, subtle and blatant, boring and exciting, shy and extroverted, refined and raw, bellicose and peaceful. His grotesque marches, apocalyptic and unbridled climaxes, his parodies of folk songs heard in his youth, the Viennese waltzes, the church chorales reminiscent of Bach, and his choruses and vocal solos gave the 19th century something that had been brewing since Beethoven's days. Huge, powerful, and highly individualized symphonies that expressed every emotion known to man and that made indelible and memorable experiences and impressions on anyone that would dare perform or listen to them. Again, in Mahler's words, the symphony must be a whole world, and he achieved just that. Now, many of his symphonies are programmatic works. They tell a story, and there is always a strong sense of dramatic purpose in his music. Whenever he can't communicate a clear message and express himself through instruments, he adds text. I view his symphonic output as one huge, overarching achievement in 3 chapters. His first 4 symphonies are naive and somewhat innocent and sound youthful at sometimes. 5 through 8 are more realistic and personal, and with 5 and 6 being on the tragic side. And the last are farewells to life and to his art. Now, Mahler once said that he was homeless 3 times in his life: as a Bohemian among Austrians, as an Austrian among Germans, and as a Jew everywhere else in the world. This sums up not only how he felt about his life, but also tells us a lot about his music. After all, composers are human, and their music reflects their own personal experiences and everything that life brings: hope, joy, passion, dreams, disappointment, and tragedy. Mahler experienced it all, and this is why his music continues to appeal to audiences all over the world. Hearing a piece by Mahler is always an event and can be life-changing. This is his legacy. Well, thank you for listening today and joining me in this listening room. And next time, I'll talk about the 5th Symphony of Mahler, which you're going to be hearing on February 4th and 5th with the Des Moines Symphony. Thanks again, stay well, and I'll see you soon.